Hello students, I am Kinjal and in today's class we are going to understand RC tones. This is a concept lecture, so our approach to this class will be कि we will understand the RC tones in the unique way and in the most basic format. We are going to cover around 20 to 25 RC tones in this class. Let's start. So बिफोर इवन स्टार्टिंग हमें ये समझना पड़ेगा हाउ टू अप्रोच दीज आरसीज. हमें आरसी को कैसे अप्रोच करना है इन ऑर्डर टू अंडरस्टैंड द टोन ऑफ द आरसी. RC tone basically, if I have to overall define it, it means the predominant sentiment of the author. But ये थोड़ी सी difficult definition हो गई if I'm not wrong, that the predominant sentiment of the author. एक मिनट सोचने के लिए लगता है अच्छा सेंटिमेंट भी है प्रीडोमिनेंट भी है बट इन टुडेज क्लास ये जो बहुत डिफिकल्ट चैप्टर है जो बहुत डिफिकल्ट कंसेप्ट है उसके हम 20 या 25 रिपीटेड टोन्स जो हैं जो हमेशा क्लैट में पूछे जाते हैं उन सबको डिस्कस करने वाले हैं. द मोस्ट बेसिक थिंग अबाउट दिस अप्रोच इज कि हमें सबसे पहले ये समझना पड़ेगा कि जब हम रीडिंग कॉम्प्रिहेंशन पढ़ रहे हैं whenever we are reading the RC, whenever we are attempting to solve this RC, we have to remove the inhibitions out of our mind. मतलब you are supposed to remove the inhibitions while solving the RC. This is the thumb rule. This is the most basic thing while in the journey of actually identifying the correct RC tone. Let's see. Now, the next thing is what is important. हमारे लिए सबसे ज्यादा important चीज क्या है to identify a tone of the RC? The overall sentiment of the author. I'll repeat myself. The most important thing while in the journey of identifying the correct RC tone is to identify the overall sentiment of the author. हमें पूरा का पूरा एक overall idea होना चाहिए कि जब ये ऑथर ये टोन ये पैसेज लिख रहे थे what he was feeling. The next point is the emoji method. The next point is the emoji method. In the emoji method, what I am basically specifying here is कि what was his expression or emoji while writing, which is the most basic notion of the whole context. It basically means एक दूसरा तरीका ये हो सकता है. I already informed you कि this class is going to be क्लास जिसमें आप बेसिक से समझो आपका फाउंडेशन इतना अच्छा बिल्ड हो कि आप आइडेंटिफाई अच्छे से कर पाओ. तो इमोजी मेथड इज द अनदर ऑल्टरनेटिव टू आइडेंटिफाइंग द ओवरऑल सेंटिमेंट वेयर यू कैन थिंक व्हाट यू हैव टू थिंक कि जब ये ऑथर ये पैसेज लिख रहे थे व्हाट माइट हिज फेस उनके फेस का एक्सप्रेशन कैसा होगा. What was his facial expression? अगर इस पैसेज को लिखते टाइम में ऑथर का जो फेशियल एक्सप्रेशन होगा उसमें अगर मैं एक इमोजी बना सकूं या फिर ये पैसेज जो ओवरऑल मुझे आइडिया समझा रहा है या फिर द ऑल्टरनेटिव मेथड इज कि या फिर when you have read the passage, so if I have to denote one emoji to this passage, what would that emoji be? तो उस कंडीशन में भी आप एक बहुत अच्छे तरीके से समझ सकते हैं कि इसका इमोजी क्या है. द नेक्स्ट थिंग इज टू सम अप पुट योरसेल्फ इन द शूज ऑफ द ऑथर. सो बेसिकली टू अंडरस्टैंड his emotions and the emotions that he wants to convey जैसे for example there are high chances that the passages let's say talking positively about the green lifestyle which is very popular these days. हो सकता है you are someone who is not entirely into that idea. आपको नहीं लगता कि the green lifestyle which is very popular these days वो एक बहुत अच्छा आइडिया है या फिर the it girl is a very good idea to have in life or the notion or the philosophy of it. But still, if the passage talks positively about it, then आपको उससे agree करना पड़ेगा. अच्छा, after all हमें ये क्यों करना पड़ेगा? What is the reason? Why are we doing this? तो Our next question is why tones are important for law aspirants. मतलब why at all कि CLAT कंसोर्शियम ने डिसाइड किया कि अब से हम टोन्स वाले क्वेश्चंस देंगे एंड दे हैव रिपीटेडली आस्क दीज क्वेश्चंस एंड जो 2025 टोन्स हैं these tones जो आज हम क्लास में करने वाले हैं most of these tones have been already asked in the examination. So these are the most basic tones that are repetitively used in the paper. Let's see. So the answer to this question that why a law aspirant actually needs to understand the RC tone is, let's say you were not really happy with the removal of Article 377. Let's say you were not very happy with the removal of adultery, the law for adultery, which has been recently was in news. आप इन दोनों लॉ से अग्री नहीं करते बट क्या इससे आप एक अच्छे लॉयर बन पाएंगे? नहीं. अ गुड लॉयर, व्हाट डज अ गुड लॉयर वुड डू? एक गुड लॉयर वो होगा, एक अच्छा लॉयर वो होगा जो समझेगा कि देयर इज समथिंग which he does not like, which she does not approve of, but still you'll need to read those judgments out, you'll need to accept it, go by it, and then maybe someday you'll also able to change those laws again. So the answer to this question is that you shouldn't be someone who does not support it. So there are high chances that you do not support adultery law, you do not support the removal of Article 377. But you should be someone who can interpret it, understand the language of it without any inhibitions, because when you are reading judgments you are not supposed to there are chances you are not finding it right, but you may need to follow it. So to remove those inhibitions and go with the removal of these articles and laws, that is the reason that CLAT wants you to do this topic really well. Next is, अब now we are discussing the approach कि अब हमें कैसे करना है. सबसे पहले a passage can have multiple tones. This is a mistake that you should avoid. I will definitely say कि there is a mistake that students generally do. They come to me with sentences in the conclusion or in the introduction. वहां पे ये बोलते हैं कि मैम देखिए यहाँ पे ऐसा लिखा है तो author probably is happy क्योंकि passage started on a happy note, या फिर the author is not really indignant. But the point is the entire tone of the passage cannot depend on one line. क्यों? क्योंकि a passage can have multiple tones. A passage can have multiple tones. So your idea is to understand the overall sentiment and not just basically depend on one line or two lines to identify the tone. The next thing that you need to keep in mind is that, let's say if there are four options that are given, there are four options now. So elimination can be used. Elimination is very much useful when it comes to RC tone. I'll tell you why. हो सकता है कि एक RC पैसेज में चार ऑप्शन हो, बट देयर आर हाई चांसेस कि ये चारों ऑप्शन में से दो ऑप्शन एप्लीकेबल ही ना हो. ये चारों ऑप्शन में से दो ऑप्शन एप्लीकेबल ही ना हो. इन दैट कंडीशन व्हाट वुड यू डू? ये जो रिमेनिंग दो ऑप्शन है उसके बीच में आपको ढूंढना है, और उसमें भी if there are two options which are basically synonymous to each other, उस कंडीशन में you are not going to get those two options together. ये जो हम basic tones पढ़ रहे हैं इसमें there is one or two example like that. We will be discussing that. The approach that we are going to do is step one. The strategy that we are going to follow is to understand the sentiment of the author. हमें समझना पड़ेगा कि author क्या बोलना चाह रहा है. What is the overall sentiment of the author? The next thing is to understand the context, the usage of the words, the way he is actually using that sentiment. So what is the context? क्या पैराग्राफ लिखा है उसके साथ जो सेंटिमेंट है इनका क्या रिलेशनशिप है. Let's say the paragraph is about old age homes, the author is sad about it, तो ये sad है किस बारे में? ओल्ड एज होम में. So sentiment, understand the context. नेक्स्ट इज द फॉर्मुलेशन ऑफ वर्ड्स. हमें देखना है कि कैसे वर्ड्स यूज किए गए हैं. देयर माइट बी चांसेस दैट द वर्ड्स यूज्ड आर वेरी इलैबोरेट एंड ब्यूटिफिकेशन हैज बीन the primary purpose of the author, and then there are chances that the words might be as simple as it can be. Next is the intensity in which they have been used. Now, the next is the intensity in which it has been used. So I have given an example over here, the Jallianwala Bagh massacre. तो Jallianwala Bagh जो हुआ था, it was, I think this is one example that everybody knows of, कि Britishers, they basically released an order to kill, to shoot and fire. Britishers released an order to fire people in that place, in that room, in that area. Okay. अब इस चीज को हम क्या बोलेंगे? हम इसको किल्ड बोलेंगे क्योंकि ब्रिटिशर्स किल्ड, या हम इसे एग्जीक्यूटेड बोलेंगे, और else we can also call it butchered. Now or it is executed, killed, butchered and executed. We have to understand यहाँ पे whether it is killed, whether it is executed या butchered. तो a lot of you might say कि मैम killed होगा क्योंकि Britishers killed, या फिर आप बोलेंगे कि it is butchered because it was ruthless. It was bloodshed everywhere. But the answer to this thing is that the tone will be executed. क्यों? Why? Because execution. Britishers released an order. There was an order that was passed. So, and there were officials involved in it. So, it was an execution. So, it was an execution and not killed or butchered. Killed is like murdering someone. So, somebody killed this person. Butchered is ruthless murder. There was a ruthless murder recently in India. Please tell me in the comment if you know the murder that I'm talking about. Okay, the next is optimistic, pessimistic, and cynical. Now, these are the, so here we have understood the difference between killed, executed, and butchered. Now we are going to understand the difference between optimistic, pessimistic, and cynical. ऑप्टिमिस्टिक हम सबको पता है होता है पॉजिटिव, ठीक है. पेसिमिस्टिक होता है नेगेटिव. एंड सिनिकल आई वुड से दैट दिस पर्सन इज ऑन द वे, he is more inclined towards negative and not necessarily towards positive. Now, जैसे मैं आपको कोविड से रिलेटेड अगर एग्जाम्पल दूं, अगर मैं आपको कोविड से रिलेटेड एक एग्जाम्पल दूं, सो आई वुड से दैट कोविड में there were people, ऐसे लोग थे कोविड में, ऐसे लोग थे, अभी कोविड की थर्ड वेव आ रही है, तो there are 2-3 things that can be done, that can be said about COVID. Let's say if there is someone जो बोल रहा है कि we will not live anymore. We will not live anymore. The next person says, we have already seen a lot. This will be a cakewalk after our experiences in the past. And the third sentence is, we saw a lot of deaths in the second wave, although we are trying, nothing much can be said. I'll give you like 50 seconds for you to basically judge कि इसमें से कौन सा वाला टोन कहाँ पे जाएगा, कौन सा वाला टोन कहाँ पे जाएगा. I'll give you 30 seconds for you to decide कि इसमें से कौन सा टोन कहाँ पे जाएगा. It's very easy, guys. You can definitely do this. I know. See, the first sentence is we will not live anymore. हम कहीं हम जिंदा ही नहीं रहेंगे. Next says we have already seen a lot. This will be a cakewalk after this experience. And third says ki we have seen a lot of death in the second wave. Although we are trying, but nothing much can be said. अब यहाँ पे let me just make it easier for you by telling you the answers. The first one is we will not live anymore. इसका मतलब होता है कि it is negative. कि हम नहीं बचने वाले हैं, ये दुनिया खत्म होने वाली है, वी ऑल आर गोइंग टू डाई. क्योंकि अब कोविड से कितने बार लड़ेंगे, बहुत लड़ाई हो चुकी, अब सब परेशान हो चुके हैं. Negative, that means he is pessimistic. Next is we have already seen a lot and this can be a cakewalk. Question, second statement कि हमने बहुत कुछ देखा है and this will be a cakewalk is optimistic. Is optimistic. It is because he is positive. But third wala, he is on the way to being a little negative, but he is still unsure. That's why this is cynical. Now, I have a good superhero question for you. I have a good superhero question for you. So, guys, मुझे एक बात बताओ. So, these are the three superheroes. And if you are a superhero fan, and if you have seen a movie called as Endgame, तो यू माइट बी नोइंग व्हाट आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट. मुझे एक बात बताओ कि एंड गेम में जब यूनिवर्स खत्म हो चुका था, द यूनिवर्स खत्म हो चुका था और ये जो तीन सुपर हीरो थे उनका इन द स्टार्टिंग ऑफ द मूवी व्हाट वाज देयर एटीट्यूड. यूनिवर्स खत्म हो चुका था, सब कुछ तबाह हो चुका था. थैनोस एक नॉर्मल जॉब कर रहा था, टाई पहन के ऑफिस जा रहा था. तो उस टाइम पे व्हाट वाज द मूड, व्हाट वाज द टोन ऑफ दीज थ्री पीपल. So, what I have understood, and if you have actually any answer ready कि इन तीनों में से अगर हमें इन तीनों को अगर मूड देना हो, आरसी टोन देना हो, तो हम क्या एक इनको आरसी टोन देंगे if it was not a movie and it was a passage. तो उस कंडीशन में I'll tell you कि थैनोस बेसिकली कैप्टन अमेरिका वो आदमी था जिसने बोला कि यूनिवर्स खत्म हो चुका है बट वी कैन स्टिल ट्राई एंड वी शुड ट्राई. सो कैप्टन अमेरिका विल बी ऑप्टिमिस्टिक बिकॉज ही वॉज पॉजिटिव. आयरन मैन वॉज थैनोस वॉज पेसिमिस्टिक क्योंकि उसे लग रहा था कि अब ये नहीं हो सकता, नथिंग कैन बी डन नाउ, अब और ये अब खत्म हो चुका है. So Thanos was pessimistic, but Captain America was that one person जो Thanos के पास गया और उसको जाके बोला कि we can still save the universe and all of that historical lines. So Thanos, so this is optimistic and pessimistic. But Iron Man, on the other hand, had lost everything. He definitely is my favorite character, but he had lost everything and he was so upset. He actually went ahead and told these other two people that there is no way we can defeat this person now, and I can still. And after Captain America tried to convince him a little bit, he actually gave it a thought and he said, "Okay, I'll try, but I don't think that we are going to defeat this very giant other person." So basically, Iron Man was cynical because he tried and he was still negative about it. Like he was just giving it a try. So it is cynical. Captain America was optimistic. He was the one person responsible for everything, for convincing these two people. And Thanos was pessimistic. So I hope you have understood the difference between killed, butchered, and executed, and optimistic, pessimistic, and cynical. If you have understood till now, please like the session. The next thing that we are understanding here are these 5 tones. ये हैं disparaging, condescending, sarcastic, satire, caustic, and acerbic. ठीक है, अब देखो ये जो फर्स्ट थ्री टोन्स है वी विल अंडरस्टैंड इट विद द एग्जांपल कि when you decided to write CLAT there were three different kind of people around you and they had three different views altogether. We'll try to understand कौन सा वाली व्यू का इंसान कौन से आरसी टोन में आ सकता है. So a person who says कि CLAT has so many questions and he would say कि इतने इतने क्वेश्चन तो तूने बोर्ड्स के लिए भी सॉल्व नहीं किए जितने क्वेश्चन क्लैट में आते हैं. या फिर वो बोले कि पीसीएम लेट्स से कॉमर्स या पीसीएम लेने में 4 सब्जेक्ट थे, क्लैट में तो इतने सारे सब्जेक्ट्स हैं. So someone who is disparaging, so basically someone who is negative, who is telling you that CLAT has a lot of questions and you are not going to solve it, that is disparaging. Or someone telling you that your decision of writing CLAT is wrong because you are not good enough for it. You cannot do it because this CLAT examination is difficult examination. There is so much of competition. There are a very few seats. So that is disparaging. The next tone is condescending. So there were these other set of people. देखो इन्होंने क्या बोला, पहले सेट ने बोला कि CLAT डिफिकल्ट है, तुम बीकॉम कर लो, तुम बीबीए कर लो, या फिर तुम ऐसा कुछ फैशन डिजाइनिंग इंटीरियर डिजाइनिंग कर लो. उन्होंने ये नहीं बोला दैट योर एबिलिटी टू डू इट इज क्वेश्चनेबल. योर एबिलिटी टू डू इट इज क्वेश्चनेबल. तो जिन लोगों ने आपसे ये बोला कि CLAT डिफिकल्ट है, उनका टोन था डिस्पैरेजिंग. नेक्स्ट इज कॉन्डिसेंडिंग. कॉन्डिसेंडिंग में होता है कि ये ही लोग अगर अपना स्टेटमेंट चेंज करके आपसे बोलते कि 12th में तो 4 सब्जेक्ट थे उसमें तुम्हारे 60% आए, CLAT में इतने सब्जेक्ट हैं उसमें तुम्हारे 30% आएंगे. या फिर तुमसे ये बोले कि यू माइट हैव नॉट सॉल्व्ड इनफ क्वेश्चंस जो 12th के लिए आए हैं और अब तुम्हें उससे डबल क्वेश्चन सॉल्व करने पड़ेंगे विच इज आउट ऑफ योर पोटेंशियल. सो दैट इज कॉन्डिसेंडिंग. तुम्हें आता ही नहीं है. Someone who questions your ability or shows their superiority. कि मुझे तो इंग्लिश बहुत अच्छे से आता है, मेरा तो मैथ्स भी अच्छा है और रीजनिंग भी मुझसे बनी जाती है. only have to cover GK and legal which both these subjects are easy to score. So that is condescending. कि someone is telling you कि you cannot do it and this person can by superiority, or someone is basically questioning your ability. Both of these things can be called as condescending. पहली चीज disparaging, बुरी बातें बोलना. दूसरी चीज condescending, which is to tell you that your ability is not so strong or their ability that they are superior. They are boasting. Next is sarcastic. हाँ. Someone who is not in favor, but it's their way of telling you the same thing is very different. कि तुमसे 12th में तो तुमसे हो नहीं रही थी और अब तुम्हें CLAT करना है. या फिर a better sarcasm to use, I think here will be कि 12th में तो तुम्हारे 70% आए, I'm sure CLAT में ऑल इंडिया रैंक 1 तो आ ही जाएगी. So that will be sarcasm. Sarcasm is basically a unique, funny, borderline funny as well way to tell someone that this is not good enough. Sarcasm is generally identified only with one thing, that the author is not in favor of what you are doing. The author is not in favor to what the government is doing. The author is not in favor with what the politicians are doing, or the author is not in the favor with the judgment which has been recently passed. So ये 3 हो गए एक सेट. नेक्स्ट 2 सेट है satire and caustic. Satire ये होता है जो imitating to reveal their deeds. अगर आपने एनिमल फार्म पढ़ी है, it is the classic book, first of all, by George Orwell, and apart from being a classic book, it is actually considered to be a satire, where एक पूरे एनिमल के थ्रू किसी और के डीड्स को उन्होंने क्वेश्चन किया है. द डिफरेंस बिटवीन सार्केज्म एंड सटायर इज कि सार्केज्म में someone is not agreeing with what you are doing. Satire में there will be someone who is trying to reveal their deeds. कुछ तो भी उनकी एक्टिविटी के बारे में एक अलग तरीके से जब बात की जाए, that is called as satire. एक्टिविटी हमेशा याद रखना, रिवेलिंग देयर डीड्स. अगर आपने एनिमल फार्म पढ़ी है देन दिस एग्जाम्पल विल वर्क बेस्ट फॉर यू. ऑल्सो हम अभी ऐसे पढ़ रहे हैं फॉर द बेसिक अंडरस्टैंडिंग. whenever we'll have the next lecture or whenever we meet in the class, I can give you one liner examples for each of these tones. चलो, caustic and acerbic, will these come together? Caustic and acerbic क्या ये हमेशा एक ही ऑप्शन में आएंगे? नहीं आएंगे, क्योंकि जैसे मैंने आपको बोला there are a few tones जो एक साथ एक ही जगह पे नहीं आते. Caustic and acerbic are under those tones जो कभी भी एक साथ नहीं पूछे जाएंगे because they are very similar to each other. Caustic and acerbic are very similar to each other and hence they are not asked together. नेक्स्ट इज एंग्री एंड इंडिग्नेंट. अब देखो एंग्री एंड इंडिग्नेंट में डिफरेंस क्या है? एंग्री का मतलब होता है कि कोई जो गुस्सा होता है ना, व्हेन समवन इज अपसेट. आई थिंक एंग्री तो आप सबको पता ही है कि व्हाट इज एंग्री, कि कोई गुस्सा हो रहा है कि यार तू बहुत रोता है, इतना मत रो. दैट इज कॉल्ड एज एंग्री. कि यू आर एंग्री ऑन दिस पर्सन, यू आर सेइंग प्लीज डोंट क्राई सो मच, प्लीज डोंट कंप्लेन सो मच, यू आर जस्ट अ लूजर. That is angry. What is indignant? Indignant is anger, but because there was some unjust that has happened. Because there was some unjust. कुछ तो भी आपके साथ fair play नहीं हुआ था. कहीं पे कोई आपको injustice मिला था. That's why it is indignant. That's why it is indignant. Next is apathetic. Apathetic का मतलब होता है emotionless. कि कोई कंसर्न ही ना हो. दैट इज कॉल्ड एज अपेथेटिक. लाइक यू, लेट्स से यू आर टेलिंग दिस अदर पर्सन कि अरे यहाँ पे मेरे घर के पास एक शॉप थी और वहां आग लग गई, वहां पे कुछ बहुत बुरा हुआ, अ फ्यू पीपल डाइड एज वेल. एंड दिस पर्सन विल बी, हाँ ठीक है, अ लॉट ऑफ पीपल डाइड इन कोविड एज वेल. So this person is emotionless. He is just cold hearted. That means he is emotionless. He is not at all concerned with what is going around. That is called as apathetic. So to identify apathetic in the RC, there must be something जिससे author concerned नहीं है. Author is only concerned about the things that he is interested in. लेट्स से कि अभी ये टैक्स नए नए आ रहे हैं, इकोनॉमी हमारी डिप हो रही है, बट द ऑथर सेज दैट आई हैव 4 फैक्ट्रीज एंड आई एम लिविंग अ lavish life. Although I'm paying a little higher tax, but I think that is fine because we are getting good services from the government. And even if the services has not changed for a long time, there are so many countries who charge a lot of tax. So in this condition, the author is emotionless towards the poor people who are not able to pay this taxes, or the middle class people जिनके ऊपर सबसे ज्यादा burden होता है of paying the tax. Next is aggressive. Aggressive and belligerent. ये दोनों बहुत ही सिमिलर हैं. अपन इन दोनों को साथ में पढ़ने की कोशिश करेंगे. Aggressive tone is used by author. हमेशा याद रखना, aggressive आ देखिए जरा. Aggressive आ देखिए जरा. That means it is forceful and offensive. That means, let's say if Ukraine is giving a speech, the representative from Ukraine is giving a speech in United Nations and telling Russia that okay, it's okay if you think that you are a superpower, but we have been developing our military for over 50 years now, and I understand that there are geopolitical issues around us, but we are pretty sure that if we come eye to eye, we are going to defeat you. So this is offensive and forceful. It is almost like this person, ये तुम्हें इतना पिंच करना चाहता है, ये पैसेज इतना पिंच करना चाहता है कि आपकी लड़ाई हो जाए. इट इज ऑफेंसिव. ये किसी को बुरा लग सकता है. बट व्हाट इज बेलिजरेंट? बेलिजरेंट इज जैसे कि I don't know if you remember this, but a few years ago there was a speech by the ex Prime Minister of Pakistan in which he said, Pakistan will retaliate. If you remember this speech, तो आपको ये belligerent समझ में आएगा with through example. But if you don't, let's just get over with it. I'll tell you it in the another manner कि belligerent में जैसे कि मान लो यहाँ पे मैंने आपको यूक्रेन का एग्जाम्पल दिया. अब अगर रशियन कोई रिप्रेजेंटेटिव बोलता है कि रशिया इज अ सुपर पावर, ये नहीं बोल रहा है कि इफ रशिया विल फाइट विथ यूक्रेन देन दे कैन बी डिस्ट्रॉयड विद इन 5 मिनट्स, ये नहीं बोला. सिर्फ ये बोला कि रशिया इज अ सुपर पावर. या फिर किसी यूक्रेन के आदमी ने बोला कि या फिर किसी ने बोला कि यूक्रेन मस्ट थिंक ट्वाइस बिफोर डूइंग दिस. ये नहीं बोला कि वी आर गोइंग टू डिफीट यू, ये बोला कि we are superpower, you should think twice. In that condition, it is belligerent. It is not intention. There is no intention of fighting. There is no force कि मैं तुम्हें आ देखे जरा करूं. But अगर आ देखे जरा करना है तो it is aggressive. देखो एक बार रिवीजन कर लेते हैं, क्विक रिवीजन. हमने अभी तक क्या क्या पढ़ लिया. We started with killed, executed, butchered. Butchered is ruthless murder. Executed is official, and killed is when like simple murders. ठीक है. Next is optimistic, pessimistic, cynical, positive, negative, and when it is on the way. Cynical is someone who is on the way to be a negative person. So I gave you example with COVID. अभी जो बोले कि अभी हम सब मरने वाले हैं, दुनिया खत्म होने वाली है, pessimistic. Someone who says we have been through a lot, we have seen all kind of COVID waves and flus and everything. We'll go through this also. So ये हुआ optimistic. And someone who says that although we tried a lot, failed in the second wave, we are still trying. Nothing specific can be said yet. This person is cynical. And I gave you another interesting example on these 3 superheroes. Then there were these 4 tones that were related to disparaging, condescending, sarcastic, and satire. I gave you the example for someone जो आपसे बोले कि CLAT बहुत difficult है. CLAT बहुत difficult है. So it is negative. You want to write CLAT और अगर passage है कि CLAT बहुत difficult है. Let's say India wants to increase its military power and the passage is on कि military power अगर हम increase करेंगे तो हमारा economy का क्या होगा. So that is disparaging. Condescending में क्या होगा कि oh, India wants to increase their military power now to maybe defeat China, but have you seen how much China has invested into it, and they all live in such an isolated environment. So that is condescending कि तुम्हें क्या पता इंडिया चाइना बहुत आगे है. Next is sarcastic. Sarcastic is basically it is another way of telling the same thing. But I also told you the difference between sarcastic and satire. Satire में deeds है. Sarcastic में the author is not agreeing with the entire idea. आगे देखते हैं. Angry and indignant. Angry का मतलब होता है गुस्सा. Indignant is when the author is upset because anything unjust has happened. कुछ तो भी unfair हुआ है. That is indignant. Apathetic is when the author is emotionless. Aggressive and belligerent में difference. Aggressive आ देखिए जरा. Belligerent when someone is not intending to fight but is definitely replying for a fight. आगे laudatory, acclamation and obsequious. ये इतने interesting है and you can give me so many examples for this. But I'll give you an RC example. But if you have your real life examples related to these, I'd like to know it. Please write down in the comments as well. So laudatory is full of praise. Someone who is praising someone. Ki, oh, you look beautiful today. है ना? That is laudatory. Or your hard work has finally paid off. या फिर, okay, great. So you collected an asset worth ₹2 crore. So that is laudatory. Acclamation is excitedly approved praise. So someone who is very excited about your success and hence praying in the best possible manner. That is acclamation. But third is obsequious. Obsequious is almost buttering. या फिर आप इसमें ये समझ सकते हो कि जैसे जो फर्स्ट बेंच के स्टूडेंट्स नहीं होते जो इतनी कोशिश करते हैं कि they'll be obedient and sincere, but these people, they are obedient and sincere till a level which is almost irritating to a very higher level. They'll always be around teachers, following them everywhere. So this is obsequious. So they are praising teacher in a manner which is almost way too much. So that is obsequious. If you have read the Shakespeare satire, you might be able to identify a few of them here. There was a satire that he wrote on his friend, where he calls his friend that although simile metaphor ये सब भी उसमें अपन वैसे figure of speech से identify करते हैं generally, but आप ये कर सकते हैं कि so if let's say I'll give you an easier example and not the Shakespeare one. Let's say if I say that my friend is as brilliant as the great Chanakya. तो the point is कि मेरी friend ने 12th में अच्छे नंबर लेके आए हैं. She cannot be as brilliant as Chanakya. Let's say I have a friend or I have a sister who has completed 1 year of her service at a good company. तो मैं बोलूं कि oh my god, you totally deserve the celebration because you have done as much as the work as George Bush might have done, or any like Sudha Murthy. So if I compare this friend who has worked like an employee in a company for over a year, and I basically tell her that you are the next Sudha Murthy, then I am obsequious. If I tell this person in a paragraph that how greatly she has developed herself in this 1 year through her work and everything, that is exclamation. And laudatory is basically just praising for calling a spade a spade. So yes, congratulations, you finished a year, you have earned so and so money, and you have learned such things. So the intensity, basically जो starting में हमने पढ़ा था sentiment, word usage, intensity, there is a difference in the intensity here. Next is narrative and descriptive. Narrative and descriptive में सबसे बड़ा difference होता है. Narrative में अगर मैं आपसे बोलूं कि can you please tell me about the current class? Can you please describe how this classroom is? You would say there's a board behind you. वहाँ पे narrative descriptive लिखा है. The teacher is wearing a black specs. She's also wearing a black t-shirt, and we are listening to her. This is an interesting lecture. All of that. So it is description. यहाँ पे कोई chronological order नहीं है. You can start with the white light, or you can start with the teacher wearing specs. But when it is narrative, it is mostly the author is character himself, and he is trying to tell you a story or an event that has happened. अगर मैं आपसे बोलूं, I walked into the classroom today and I was scared. तो जब मैं आपसे ये बोलूं कि I walked into the classroom today and I was scared, you might feel कि उसके आगे क्या हुआ? Why were you scared? So the idea is it is narrative. जब आप ये question कर रहे हो कि what is the next thing? What is the next thing that happened? That is narrative. Next is factual and analytical. Factual का meaning होता है discussion of core ideas in a particular way or field of study, facts and figure. जब आपको पूरे का पूरे passage में एक core idea को discuss करेंगे और उसमें आप study कोई आप किसी जो research हुई है उसको refer करें. One, referring to any study, any research. Next, referring to any facts, stating facts, or stating some figures about a core subject. Then it is factual. Analytical is presence of logics and justification, pros and cons and neutral stance. Analytical में सबसे पहली चीज जो आपको याद रखनी है that the author will have a neutral stance. आप पैसेज के एंड में नहीं बता पाओगे if it is positive or negative. हो सकता है फर्स्ट 2 पैराग्राफ पॉजिटिव हो, बाद में 2 नेगेटिव हो, पहले 2 नेगेटिव हो, फिर पॉजिटिव हो. सो यू कैन नॉट रियली से एनीथिंग. व्हाई? बिकॉज जब पॉजिटिव है तो ऑथर हैज गिवन सम लॉजिक बिहाइंड इट बीइंग पॉजिटिव. जब नेगेटिव है द ऑथर हैज गिवन सम लॉजिक एंड जस्टिफिकेशन कि ये नेगेटिव क्यों है या फिर ये पॉजिटिव क्यों है. द प्रेजेंस ऑफ बोथ प्रोज एंड कॉन्स विल बी देयर. Next is reflective, didactic, and instructional. Reflective is when it gives you a different perspective. Didactic is intended to teach. There's a poem by Theodore Tilton. It's called "This Shall Pass Away." Everything, this shall pass away. This is the name of the poem. It's very interesting poem. एक बार वो poem पढ़ना. उस poem में ऑथर आपको एक अलग पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू देते हैं ऑफ लाइफ कि पेन है तो इट विल पास अवे, अच्छी चीजें हैं इट विल पास अवे, नेगेटिव चीज है इट विल ऑल्सो पास अवे. सो पॉजिटिव नेगेटिव सब कुछ विल पास अवे. सो इट इज रिफ्लेक्टिव, इट इज गिविंग यू अ डिफरेंट पर्सपेक्टिव, एक नया पर्सपेक्टिव टू थिंक. इट इज ओपनिंग सम डोर्स, सो इट इज रिफ्लेक्टिव. बट डाइडेक्टिक इज इंटेंडेड टू टीच. वहां पे इंटेंशन होना चाहिए कि if there was a passage on, let's say, King Ashoka, that there was a king called named Ashoka and he won so many war and then he won the Kalinga war, where he saw the bloodshed and he promised himself that he's never going to participate in any war and is not going to be responsible for killing of any living being ever. So it is intended to teach you that it is basically bad to be violent, to kill someone. So there is an intention. So it is didactic. In the first example, when I was telling you that there's a poem on everything will pass away. So that is not didactic. It is not teaching you any moral. It is just giving you an idea कि ऐसा हुआ, it will pass away. Positive हुआ, pass away. Negative हुआ, pass away. Pain है, pass away. आपके पास fame है, आप बहुत famous हैं, prosperous भी हैं, it will pass away. So it is giving you an idea, an alternative way of thinking, but not teaching you any lesson. The third is instructional, where conveys knowledge or instructions. So a passage in which knowledge and instructions are conveyed, that is called as instructional. Ki, any of your books that you might have read of science or any other subject, which are instructional, कि आपको इंस्ट्रक्शन दिए जाते हैं कि ये ऐसे होता है, देन दिस हैपेंस. जैसे कि इवन सोशल साइंस की जो बुक्स होती हैं जिसमें डेमोक्रेसी और ब्यूरोक्रेसी में डिफरेंस होता है, देन देयर इज टॉक अबाउट फेडरलिज्म एंड सोशलिज्म. So it is giving you an idea, an explanation, a definition, an example, application. So it is instructional. It is conveying you a subject matter. Okay. So we have covered around 24 to 25 these tones now. I'll definitely suggest you to make notes of whatever we have learned today. And if you like the video, if you have liked this lecture, please make sure that you hit the like button and also comment on the comment section. Thank you and have a nice day.